Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
We're Bob and Debbie Noturf at First United Methodist Church in Crooksville, Missouri. Recently, our senior pastor, Reverend Scott Beard, spoke about the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. And this miracle, as he pointed out in his sermon, is the only miracle of Jesus recorded in all four Gospels. The account of the miracle varies remarkably little among the four Gospels. In each account, there were 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. 5,000 men were fed and had enough to eat, and 12 baskets of food left over. And Matthew adds that there were also women and children present, and they all ate and were satisfied as well. And by the way, Matthew and Mark record another feeding of 4,000 men, starting with 7 loaves and a few fish, and 7 baskets of food were left over. But all of these accounts, pretty much, Jesus asked his disciples to feed the people. Matthew chapter 14, verses 14 to 16 read,
When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat."
Interesting. The disciples want to send the people away, but Jesus says, "You give them something to eat." I can just hear the disciples saying, "What?" After his resurrection, I'm sure you remember what Jesus told Peter to do: feed my sheep. We're disciples of Jesus today, and I believe we're directed to do the same. Take care of everyone we can, show hospitality whatever word that is, hospitality to all who are placed in our path, and to love everyone as Jesus has loved us. It's a daunting command. Frequently I fail. Like the apostles who only had 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000, I frequently don't think I have enough to offer. The Gospel of John adds one more small detail.
When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?"
John adds that the loaves were barley, and that they came from a boy. Apparently, the boy is willing to give up the food he had for others. We should follow that example even if what we have to offer seems too small, because Jesus can turn something meager into a miracle. In March of 1980, I was given the words and music to a song that Debbie and I will now share. I titled it Availability. The crowd was hungry and needed fed. A small boy offered his fish and bread. Although it seemed a gift far too small, Jesus used his lunch to feed them all. He can take what you give him and do a miracle, no matter how small the gift may be. He can take what you give him and do miracles, So let us think about how we can become more available to God. Have a good week.